Thank you very much. Good night, God bless. First of all, I don't even know what I'm doing here, to be honest, but over the years since I've been involved in this performance poetry world, the write out loud and everything else that goes on with it, but I was absolutely amazed or really pleased that the woman who first got me into, or certainly cultivated my passion for poetry, was Marguerite, who's sitting here tonight. I don't know what she's doing here. I think she's come for that £10 borrowed off her in 2006, inflation and all that. She got me into poetry with larking and various bits and bobs, and she taught me about all the ethos about poetry, the technicalities about poetry. Well, then I thought, well, that's good, but let's just do something else, and let's get into stuff that I really enjoy, and that's free verse stuff. Anyway, so over the years, this is what I've written, and we've all been caught up in our lives and loved and lost and stuff, and so this is the first one. It's called Sleeping. I never did tell you, in that moment now dissolved, how much I would cherish the heat of our mornings, how I wanted to trace the letters from the Greek alphabet with the skill of a tongue's quill into intimate depths of arousal in your blood, how I would watch you sleep, imagining death, your allies, your lovers, untouchable tomorrows. And I never did tell you in that moment, now among time's unhealing, how I would whisper the names of ancient Grecian towns, Roman gods and philosophers, while touching the freedom inside your hair, or how I would sense each day of your life's longing, the hurt and pain of rotting love, reluctantly warm around her heart, her wrist, and the bone of her ankle. I never did tell you, for just that search for a single moment, when darkness concealed its reasoned limit, how I wanted to give you the emptiness of religion's ultimate destiny, and how you would wait a short while, standing next to your chosen Devon, gathering those pieces of love's impatience, until that perfect morning when I will follow you there. Well, you move on. So, in simple terms, obviously, you get a girl and you do all that nonsense stuff, and then you take them off somewhere to a haven caravan site.
Primrose Valley.
You get into the forest, you do that stuff, you know, when you walk in near the beach and there's some trees there and stuff, and so this one's called Wood, or the Wood, or the Wood. The Wood. They lay between the shadowed cheeks of two trees, within the green blankets of its ferns, purple buttons of its flowers. And they stared at the stillness in one another, inhaling the scents from a single June Saturday, hours inside a bowl of memories gathered from a gorgeous, gorgeous wood. The two trees stood either side of a man and a woman, 400 years of knowing in their leaves, and they whispered to the silent people, you know they will cherish one another. And the flowers through mouths perfumed with colour, chatted with dashes of dragonflies, who all appeared to have agreed they've begun to love each other here. She counting the joys and the sorrows on the shell of a ladybird, and he with the weight of 2 buttercups in the palm of a hand, realizing this is an example of perfection, a beautiful place to die. You don't have clap.
Oh, God, that's gorgeous.
Right, Mum. Calm down, Mum. Right. It's called As We Slept. Being an international globetrotter, been all over the world and all that stuff. Last week I was in Minehead, Widnes, Wigan, we're all over the place. But anyway, I did find myself once when I jumped on a plane, found myself in Thailand of all places, and I wrote this stuff because that's where I was when I wrote it. It's called As We Slept. We wore the Andaman Sea as our shoes, planted the roots of candles in the sand, waited until dusk threw its blanket around us, so we could wear the stars as hope and the moon as a hat. Yet we never did dance with the flickers of hip-jiving shadows. We chose to sit with the old man Jack instead. And all too soon his stories became tiresome and weary. We both heard them many, many times before the tide took its care to remove itself, taking with it the soles of our shoes as the fingers of morning removed our hat, while Jack crept away with the stars as we slept. So that's when as you go through life and you get a bit puddled, is that right now?
Yeah.
Is it?
Oops.
So as you go through life and you move on, as we all know, because we're all mature here, and you either get depressed, or you get married, or you get married, and then you get depressed.
Or you get married again.
There's a you get married again, and there's a continuum there, isn't there? We all know the cycles. Well, this is called Four Horses. Standing with purple hands furled inside pockets of shallow denim, waiting for today's serpent of a train, I'm taken by a stillness. In the air I share and breathe with the mute of commuters. And there is an old man who appears as if he has lived 100 more lives than any one of mine, standing here just out of reach, in pain it seems. He smiles apologetically, senses my melancholy, then stares back into the silence of distance. Eventually a train, our train, arrives. One of its headlights is broken, and we both embark side by side, him choosing to sit facing me before staring through a window, our window, travelling backwards, so that I noticed just before him the 4 steaming chestnut mares standing side by side in their own great green universe. And I noticed in their eyes. They seem to gaze into our window, following our moment. He smiles again, the smile you give to a stranger when you know they're slowly dying. And all I can say is, what beautiful horses. And he nods a tired and weary looking head ever so slightly and replies, yes, they really are. My old man's a dustman, he was, but no, it's not one. No, I was a bit. How long have we got?
Half an hour.
It's only 9:30. Bloody hell. Well, I'm going to have to do a rude one now. Balls to our loved up stuff. This is called I Want You to Fuck Me.
No thanks.
Well, these aren't my glasses. It actually says, I want you to go home. No.
Oh, your sister.
Your sister. Now, Chris. Go on, Cole. I want you to fuck me. It's not Bukowski style, but it'll do for me. A lady walked over to him. She had hair you'd only ever seen in the movies, and a smile you get to see just once every 100 dreams. Her voice was a late summer evening, and her eyes would break a heart into 1,000 stories before she leaned right in and whispered, I want you to fuck me for as long and as hard as you possibly can. As you can imagine, he was taken aback by the gravity of her words and their meaning, and they caught him unguarded and ill-prepared. Lady, you're a few pages ahead of the women I've looked before, and you're racing to the end of mortality's story. But if you really want me to fuck you for as long and as hard as I possibly can, then I think it's only right you should know this. I've been fucking women for as long and as hard as I possibly can, for as long and as hard as I can remember. But I'm getting older, and remembering is getting harder and shorter than the memory that was once longer and harder. You look confused. Here, take this glass. Lady, I ain't gonna fuck you, I'll love you, but if you want to sit in the skin of that wingback chair, I'll explain. Just let me say this. Now me, watched all this as a third person, as this man regaled the tale of his story. And the lady wanted him, let's say, more and more. She laughed and she gasped and she giggled and she frowned and she raised her brows as he explained his craft. Before finally he said, and just how long have you been a writer? I heard him explain, being a writer doesn't apply to every situation. Before she was howling to tales of masturbation and how this was married to the state of the nation and politicians and bearded women. Enough, enough, she demanded. Instead of fucking me for as long and as hard as you possibly can, will you just write about it and exaggerate it like writers do? And perhaps all men? Sure, I heard him say. She stared at him with those dragon green eyes and smiled a smile that said, I want you to fuck me for as long and as hard as you possibly can. That's right, baby. For as long and as hard as he can. And for as long and as hard as he writes. I'm really and obviously we've all got our addictions. Some people are addicted to collecting beer tokens, some wives, some people ego
Stamps.
and stuff, but most of us are addicted to stuff. We've all got an addiction and we all know what it's like. But this is called Addict. And it's the last one, by the way, so you can relax after this. To some, it is a beast. To others, that beast is Hercules, fighting reality's 12 labours. But we once shared the same dark, slept inside each other's black, hunted our lies and our praise together. There is always room for yet another shadow to take their place. You left with strength and grace, never turn back. Back turn never. There is a garden upon this earth where its nature is too much for any beast to dwell. So I have to imagine that you are now sitting in an Eden, Hesperides, all that wood. Together with the other nymphs, tasting the colour of their apples, their memories. Leave me to this world where the beast will torment me, and I will torment the beast, so that you can sit for a time in the light, beneath the sun, amongst the flowers of truth in your peace.